Dino Crisis is a game that I used to play when I was younger. I say Dino Crisis, I used to play the second one more. I don't ever remember playing the first one, and I never really got far, because I never had a memory card. So I'd always just play the first mission, and then get stuck, and then give up. So I'll be reviewing Dino Crisis 1 and Dino Crisis 2. Just a side note, I won't actually be playing Dino Crisis 1 on the PS1. I'll be playing a Rebirth, Dino Crisis 1 Rebirth, which is a mod that improves the videos, the textures, the audio, as well as just make the launcher better and more usable on current Windows, as well as a bunch of other fixes to make the game look much better. I won't be going super in depth on the reviews on these games, just a brief overlook of them and my thoughts and opinions on them. So we'll be starting with Dino Crisis 1 first. Dino Crisis is often referred to as the Resident Evil with dinosaurs, which is kind of true, but I think Dino Crisis improves on the Resident Evil formula. You still get the fixed cams, but you also get follow cams, so you can make for more cinematic and more tense and frightening experiences thanks to the 3D environments. Dino Crisis 1 begins out much more slower than the second one, with a much more higher emphasis on the horror aspect, which makes you decide between fighting or just fleeing. There isn't much choice in weaponry on Dino Crisis 1. You get your shotgun and a pistol, but the pistol is useless. It's only really used as a backup. Both of the guns can be upgraded and ammo can be changed. You still don't get too much choice of weaponry. Later in the game you get a grenade launcher. Throughout the game you get choices, which I think is quite a good addition. It's usually just more gun-ho or do puzzle, so depending on your play style you can change it up a bit. One of the main things that I think puts people off with playing the original like Resident Evil and Dino Crisis is the control scheme and the tank controls. It makes you feel like you've got less control of your character. However, I think it's more of a skill issue rather than a controls issue. And I like the tank controls because in tense situations feel like you're panicking a bit more and you're a bit more clumsy. Although I did enjoy some of the puzzles, I think the later in game they got, the more tedious and more annoying they got. I think that took away and ruined the experience a little bit. Although it was kind of nice to pull out a notepad again and take down numbers, codes for doors, or things that I'll later need, as it doesn't get stored in your inventory. You have to manually either remember or note it down, otherwise you'll be running back and trying to find that note again somewhere on the map. There isn't much variety in the dinosaurs. You get a couple dozen, some only appear for one or two rooms, and that's it. Overall, I think Dino Crisis is a good fun game to go back on and just re-experience again. It's very unique. I don't think there's many games out there that is like this, and yeah, I think it's good. I guess I rate it a 7 out of 10. It's good. It could be better. I think the main things that bug me is the lack of variety of dinosaurs, environments, and weaponry. It's all very basic and it doesn't really change much throughout the game. And some of the puzzles were just awful to try and solve. Now moving on to Dino Crisis 2, which I remember from my childhood, this time with a memory card, so I can actually save and progress. Just a side note, I will be playing the PS1 version of Dino Crisis 2, as Rebirth, there isn't currently a Rebirth mod, and trying to play the PC version is awful. I'll be using DuckStation for my Dino Crisis 2 playthrough. As you can see, the graphics are awful for the PS1 version. They have not aged well. They have a unique style. 20 so years on, it does not look great. So I'll be increasing the render resolution to 9x, texture filtering the highest, downsampling to adaptive, because Dino Crisis 2 uses still static backgrounds. It's no longer 3D like it was in Dino Crisis 1. It's just still images, so they look very pixelated while our main character looks 3D. So we'll be changing to adaptive, so it smooths out the background. We'll disable interlacing, geometry correction, so it stops with weird, I don't know what you'd call this. It's like it's being blown in the wind. so it's nice and smooth. Dino Crisis 2, you're in the action a lot more, so it makes more for a more fun, action-packed experience. It does ditch the horror aspect when you've got 100 bullets in your shotgun. I do miss the 3D chase cam, the 3D backgrounds and backdrops. However, the environments and the backdrops are more varied and more unique now. There's a lot more choice of weapons like the flamethrower, stun baton, Kimbo SMGs, which is a lot of fun. And it also introduces another character. You play as Regina and Dylan, so you switch between the two. Both have unique abilities, I should say. Dylan can cut through vines, Regina just zaps gates and they open. Puzzles are much more dumbed down and are much more simpler, and the overall experience is a lot more shorter, mainly because you're not doing tedious puzzles. It does introduce new mechanics like the on-rail shooter sections when you're traveling. Those were a bit tedious and boring. They introduce a point system, so if you take no damage throughout area, bonus points, that's all you kill, combos you rack up to buy new equipment, ammo, and just tools. The points you get can be very inconsistent. I was getting 10k plus on a really easy part, whereas fighting for my life, struggling, and I would get maybe a couple hundred. You can buy additional tools to allow for longer combos or longer timer. You get rack up combos, and you can even just double your points later game. Hemostats are just useless in this, at least like mid game, because you just get a suit which stops all bleeding, so hemostats are just irrelevant halfway through. They ditched the crafting mechanics like you did have in Dino Crisis 1, but just nothing. You can't mix your health kits together, you can't craft any ammo, you just buy it or you find it, which is a bit of a step back, I think. I think it was quite a good addition. You could craft your smaller medkits into a bigger one, and the bigger ones into even bigger ones, and you could just make more use of your inventory and the equipment you have. There isn't much story until later half of the game, other than like the environment tells the story. In the later half of the game, you just get lore dumped, and it doesn't really make much sense, I'm gonna be honest. Time traveling and whatnot, it wasn't really my thing. A lot of the story just doesn't get explained, or just gets looked over very quickly, or just dumped at you late in the game. So the story is a bit meh. Overall, I found Dino Crisis 2 more fun and enjoyable, even though it takes a lot of step backs in some places. I think it's an overall better experience and a lot of fun, even though I still don't understand the story, still appreciate it. And it's still being left on a cliffhanger, which we still have not got a continuation of, which is very sad to see. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I'd love to see a continuation of Dino Crisis, whether it be remakes, remastered, or even another title. Not you, you can disappear. You don't exist.
And this is the reward for a lifetime of service to the government. Sad, isn't it?
Let's go!